Hello, Rob Watson here, and I've come out on Monday the 19th of July, and I'm in Jubilee Square in Leicester to just record some thoughts and some observations about the work I'm doing on the Leicester Stories project, which is related to how we are building back better, and what I'm talking about with people about how that process is moving forward or not, and what it involves, and what really the kind of terminology is about, and how we might better think through some of the contradictions, some of the some of the ways that the whole discussion is kind of used publicly, politically, and socially. So the big Build Back Better term, it's interesting. I've done some vox pops and things and little chats with people that I've been recording for the Leicester Stories project, and the interesting thing is that the number of people who've not heard of the phrase. Now, I kind of assumed that most people had heard in some way. It's a phrase that's been used by Boris Johnson. It's a phrase that was used by President Biden in his election campaign, and it's kind of had wide coverage in the press and the media, and this is an indication of maybe the echo chamber and the bubble that I'm in, which is podcasts and Twitter and social advocacy groups and charities and political pressure groups have been using the phrase of what is meant by building back better, and it kind of what are we gonna do once the pandemic's over, and all of those challenges that the pandemic has demonstrated and shown that need some kind of public attention. What are we going to do about them? How are we going to address them? So the kind of phrase, there's lots of other phrases that are used, whether it's renew normal, whether it's what are the other terms? Kind of it's build back better is in my experience the most commonly used expression. Building back together, it was put to me as a good alternative. So you can use kind of whatever phrase you want. It's really a question of how and in what way do we address some of the long established social problems that define our public life here in the UK, from inequality, from lack of economic opportunity, from poor, a lack of investment in public and social services, that provide support for the most vulnerable people in society. How we've had the leave behind, the levelling up agenda is part of this, and the idea that there shouldn't be any places in the UK that are denied opportunities for economic investment and social investment. And I suppose the question is how is this played out, and what is it, how is it used and how is it determined? And there's an awful lot of there's a lot of guff to use a technical phrase is talked. And this time last year I remember being on a lot of podcasts and Zoom calls where there was kind of a great outpouring of people thinking, hey, this is an opportunity to rethink who we are, what we are, how we do things, what our scope is of what it means to be a cohesive society. And this year, whether it's me or whether it is an objective fact, there seems to be much less of these programs and these podcasts and these accounts being made, and it's kind of returned, if you like, to a kind of sense of the old normal rather than a new normal. And has the dial been shifted to accommodate that and to make that that sense of optimism that was generated, has that been dissipated? And it's in part, it's been the relief of the vaccine development and uptake, and the relief that you have of being able to get back on with things is perhaps a false, delusional form of relief, because my view is that we're not anywhere near the end of the pandemic yet. I don't even think we're at the mid stages of it. I'm ultra cautious, and maybe too cautious, and maybe other people would say that I could do with a bit of a boosterism and optimism, which I'm naturally sceptical of, and perhaps time will tell, and I hope I'm wrong, but being back in a lockdown in September because of soaring numbers of COVID cases and hospital submissions doesn't strike me as being a success in any way. So the kind of what's the mindset that is driving this, I think, is an important question. What is it that's getting us into this place where we are able to put aside our doubts, and we're able to kind of prioritize our own experiences and our own kind of individual personal needs over and above social well-being and social priority. And I'm not, this is not uniform. What's interesting when I've been talking to people is a number of people say, well, I've not really heard of the term. Is it related to this? And actually, everybody's expert at this. So the people who are prepared to express a view or engage in this, actually they can talk. Everybody seems to be able to talk quite eloquently about the kind of social problems that we have, that they would like to see some kind of means to address them. And the public discourse, as it's controlled and facilitated by our mainstream media, is not serving that sufficiently, I don't think, in terms of allowing people the opportunity to express themselves, and allowing people the opportunity to extend their thinking and to deliberate and to engage with one another and take different points of view and build on their quite contradictory, paradoxical experiences, and to look at those things that are without clarity or without certainty, and to come up with some kind of a centre ground, to establish some kind of interaction, rather than it being something which is about we know this is true. Please have some doubt, have some uncertainty, because we know it might be probable, but we know that it doesn't have any kind of sense of guaranteed certainty about it. So this is a debate that needs to be had and discussed in broad circles, and it needs to be taken up in hopefully a deeper way than just the kind of common practices that are exhibited through our mainstream press or mainstream media, but becomes something which is more about opening up spaces for discussion and engagement, and that aren't about people being locked down to limit what they can say and express and think. That's not to say that I'm an advocate of people going off and demonstrating kind of wild conspiracy theories and talking about the way in which some kind of mythical imagined deep state is out there to get us all. I'm certainly not advocating that there are limits to free speech, and it's responsibility, and it's what happens when things go wrong, what happens when things don't work, what happens when the truths that we hold as being certain are found to be not truths and uncertain, and we all have a responsibility to accept that we play our part in picking up the pieces and to acting in a positive, constructive way, rather than merely using it to vexate, express a kind of vexatious, individualised kind of sense of an itch that we can't scratch. So there is a centre ground there. It's that kind of Habermasian idea of the public sphere. That element there of there is a way of arbitrating public discussions and public debates, But the first part of that process is to listen to people's stories and to listen to people's concerns, and not to be imposing that on and framing a narrative on behalf of people, but to be being facilitating and being supportive of the discussion itself. So that's kind of what I've got to the point of with the project at the moment. There's the Leicester Stories cafes, sessions and community reporters club. So if you want to come along to one of the drop-in cafe sessions, it's on Tuesday mornings 10 till 12 at the Bishop Street Chapel Cafe in Leicester, just by the town hall, opposite the town hall square fountain. Got tea and coffee available for you if you just want to pop in and have a chat. And then on Thursday mornings, there's the Community Reporters Club, which takes place at the Dock Media Centre, which is on Northampton Street, again 10 till 12, and it's for people who want to take their media use for supporting their community to the next level, if you like. So they're up on the website, on the Decentered Media website, for details about that. I thought I was going to have a nice quiet sit down and chat here. Obviously I chose the wrong location, but at least I'm in the shade and I'm not as hot as I was earlier. But I'll do another update in the next couple of days.